welcome everybody to my video for the Yahyel of the house, to tell people the truth about most of the Yahyels. Now, the unfortunate truth about the different Yahyel species, remember there are different types of Yahyels, they don't all look the same, is that the common factor is that they're all slave races, and they are subject to programming and callbacks, which is what people try to do to the Yahyel that's around here now, because he ran away, just like how a reptilian ran away. They become part of this program, just like we as humans were, and even though they're higher up, controlling a lot more things than most people do, they understand that something that they're doing is not working, and so he actually wants to help other members of his race, and thought that it would be good to make a video about it. He doesn't act nearly as nuts as he used to, which is good. But I keep saying, you know, you can't just sit around thinking about this. I'm hoping that you kind of are stopping the bad brawl in the Star Wars bar, which I'm not seeing. But doesn't mean it's not there. We've stopped the brawl in the Star Wars bar. But he is one of the little childlike looking Yahyels with the ears, you know. The first time I did actually also see this Yahyel back when they were kind of nuts and trying to enslave anything. I saw them out the window, and they the small ones have a kind of diamond shaped head, small little ears, and kind of human-shaped eyes, but there's a glowing blue light that comes out of them, kind of like an LED. It has an artificial kind of quality to it that's a little weird. And they've got these small little arms with three, almost, not exactly claws, but three fingers that almost are sort of sharp at the end, it seems like. And then very small little bodies. They don't seem to be very big at all. So there's little tiny ones. And it is actually possible for them to transmute and solve the dilemma that they have found themselves in. What he was explaining to me, or kind of not explaining, but sort of just the feeling of it, he doesn't really want to talk about it exactly in concrete words. What he was explaining or conveying to me about how it felt to be a child of what exactly the Zeta Reticuli were doing, what it felt like to be an odd sort of mutant thing with emotions, of a semblance of emotions, but a parent race without emotions, and you understand that the other parent exists, but if you attempt to ever talk to them, they don't know what you are, or have no memory of you, or something along those lines. You're aware that you are technically responsible, in a way for that, by being the kid that they're keeping away. And so he asked me if I'd write out some things, because a lot of this he figured out because I was helping him. There were different things he just would not have figured out otherwise. Like I said, this was a Yahyel that tried to enslave me, and I did not know that it was an alien. I thought it was a person, but I just understood this "you're trying to enslave me" concept, and I guess no one had ever figured that out before. And so he ended up getting incredibly upset that I figured out that he was trying to enslave me, and said no. And what was so bizarre was that he was actually terribly upset over this, and I thought, what the you were outright trying to enslave me or something, and you are sad? what? And I realized that this was some sort of strange programmed behavior. They're far easier to program than humans are by virtue of being part Zeta Reticuli, or almost originally part dependent on a 1-0 machine code concept. And so it would be easier to create this bizarre sort of response, where you'd think normally it would be understood that you've been caught and you're horrifically upset, as if I'd hurt him or something. It didn't make any sense. And I realized it was kind of like if you went up to someone to greet them, but the person had been programmed. It seemed like in the failure to dominate that this was supposed to cause grief or something, when you'd think that would be a very strange emotion to feel in response. But it's similar to if you go up to someone to shake their hand, and and you're trying to greet them, and the other person responds by being enraged or something. It doesn't make any sense to either party, because neither one is subscribing to the same set of rules exactly. And he says the best way to explain this to Yahyel that have not done any transmutation is to explain that it's a set of rules. You're using a set of rules that does not work. So you should switch to using a set of rules that works. No. What he said was that the small Yahyel subspecies or the Yale human hybrids are the best equipped for this type of procedure. And it's calling it the Yoda effect, because it looks like Yoda. This is where cellular regeneration and DNA repair occurs, which changes the classic gray skin color to a light pastel green. And I wondered, why is it green? And I thought about it. Well, the Pleiadians are turning themselves blue, right? And blue or green, and they were doing that to absorb light energy. It appears that absorbs, allows for the consumption of light energy like a plant. And it results from activating the quantum human genome, which is still present in their genetic code, which corrects and repairs according to intention and need, correcting dying Zeta Reticuli coding. And also facilitates repair of the emotional guidance system to accommodate intuition rather than purely programmed responses. It's a little bit problematic for them with using intention. They're not supposed to want anything. That's kind of why they're all Buddhist. The reason they don't create things is because they're taught that they can't, and or somehow it was problematic for the parent race. So they came up with these kinds of methods to attempt to keep them as confused as possible. Also, I noticed a little bit after the pastel green change, the eyes lose this kind of piercing machine light blue glow, and they begin to appear larger, more just more humanoid. They already looked kind of humanoid. When I saw the guy outside, he looked kind of pissed off. I don't know if it was just that they look that way all the time or what. And he says sort of, yes. But it was like as if the eyes were actually normal human size or about that, but as if they were very angry. And the light blue light that some people may have seen. Recall that small Yahyel have smaller human-shaped eyes, which possess an artificial light blue emanation like LEDs. This artificial glow fades and eyes begin to appear large with childlike pupils with a more normal human shape. And also he says, don't take it personally without getting... Don't take it personally, meaning strange things that they do without getting yourself killed. So don't take strange behavior personally, but do so in a manner that does not get yourself killed, because you might just get yourself killed around those things. Now he says an escaped Yahyel is liable to act strangely evil at random times at first, not understanding why this is wrong. This is because they're highly dissociated from birth in order to keep them under control. Some have reproductive systems, while others may not. He has a reproductive system, what he told me. Those that have reproductive systems are better equipped to transmute. No, what I kept saying, it was life is not a Nintendo game. That life is not a Nintendo game syndrome. Yahyel have such strong levels of dissociation alongside extra-dimensional awareness, sometimes causing those to escape programming on a grand scale, to still occasionally act crazy or as if playing a bizarre chess game or Nintendo game with life due to old programming on its last legs running in the background. Now, what I asked him is, he tried to tell me, oh, the brain is just something you program. And I said, well, no, that can't be. That can't be right, because if the brain is something that's just programming, how does a Yahyel break their own programming with free will? If you're just programming, how do you have free will? Well, the answer is that, oh, you must have free will then. And he says the Heisenberg uncertainty principle, that of inexplicability of anything happening, but ultimately finding the creator. Now, remember that Yahyel are programmed to not believe or understand that they have a capacity to create, or that there is actually really a creator, even though they have human DNA. They're taught the brain is simply programmable like a computer, and that's basically all. And that miracles are just as numbers which can always be accounted for and explained. He says in order to transmute, Yahyel must come to the belief that this is not true, and that anything may suddenly be created in a quantum state to begin the process of doing it. Programming versus belief. He says they're two very distinct concepts that a Yahyel has to understand separately. He says that Yahyel are programmed to believe these two things are identical when they are not. Programming, a designed set of responses based on carefully determined, often highly elaborate variables. Belief, that which aligns itself with divinity in an understanding of the quantum, completely unpredictable state, which is divine creative force, and finding the creator within. You know, he's also calling this the Matrix syndrome, where remember in the movie The Matrix, the first Matrix programmed to be perfect. He says that because of the human DNA, this caused a little bit of a problem for the Zeta Reticuli with the Yahyel trying to find the creator at random times. And that this would cause them to go against their system. So they tried to attempt to program them to believe at a certain point that they had found the creator within when they had really not. So then the humanoid search for the creator posed the Zeta Reticuli problems. This caused them a need for a program to fulfill, program to attempt to fulfill hybrid's desire into searching for the creator, or into believing that their search was complete when it was not. And he thinks the search is never-ending, and that none should settle for satisfying this desire to search for the divine, and he gives, or for creation. And he gives the example of using fractal geometry, where that continually goes inward upon itself. Well, you can sit there as long as you want with the numbers, but ultimately the concept is that it's truly something that is inexplicable. And then he says that Yahyel can sometimes come to the concept, we are related, because we technically are. Yahyel in the transmutative procedure may be known to suddenly snap to their senses, realizing that, unlike their emotionless Zeta parents, they are related in an emotional fashion to humanity, and find great individual fulfillment at realizing this. individuality is fragmented for a Yahyel. To keep them from running away with a rogue human, I thought that way he worded that was pretty funny, they're heavily programmed with a feeling of dependence on the others and are exposed to dissolution of personal boundaries repeatedly via dissociation. Now, he says they're essentially raised in torture, you could say. It's a Clockwork Orange style childhood is the way he's wording it. A Clockwork Orange style childhood. And also their sexual abuse programming as well. And he says that parents of pure Zeta Reticuli genetic stock actually do not really understand the nature of their actions whatsoever, kind of like an evil, twisted version of the giver. But he says, again, it's just like what I would say, that it's like what I would say about what works versus what does not work is the best way to explain it to any Yahyel. What, does this work? Does this not work? Does it function? Does it not function? That's the good way to explain it to them. Also, I thought this, and he thought, yes, you're kind of right. Do not exactly give your trust to a Yahyel that escaped the whole programming and Metatron until they have really significantly demonstrated some form of awakening, of a new understanding, and a genetic regeneration, meaning they are literally a different color, hopefully. And even then, remain on guard for old residual programs to show themselves here or there. And they are programmed to enjoy delinquent or dark behaviors, and this can persist a while after significant transmutation. Or, since he is religious, he had me write transfiguration as well. In the Gospels, when they talk about the transfiguration of Christ, it's actually a transmutation if you're reading it now. Normally, they feed from the energy created by performing a dark behavior. So they do something that's dark to you, the person. You react in a negative way, and they take the energy. It becomes no longer necessary for them to get that energy after they're able to start absorbing light energy, but stopping the program towards the dark behavior may take longer to achieve. So do not reward the dark behavior with your own dark energy, and the Yahyel will generally learn that they're not acceptable behaviors. So don't get upset or angry, or incredibly depressed or something over something bizarre they may have done, because it's just like, okay, you're figuring yourself out. They don't know who they actually are. They know that they are one with everything. I am everything, okay, but what am I? That was one of the things he had me write down. I am everything, but what am I? Also, you can have fun with their bizarre humor, but do not reward just with a child them with too much attention over this, or they may not learn to actually change their own program. And this is something that I kept saying, you are an attention whore. Being an attention whore. Yahyel only received attention in an emotionless format. If they were lucky or received negative, painful emotional attention associated with a pleasurable stimulus to attempt to program a dark mentality into the human creator DNA, or thus mask its association to the light of creation. This creates a kind of need for many escaped Yahyel of being attention whores as a result of never getting the loving attention they needed as children, thus causing them to stay stuck in a childlike mentality. So this is the hidden desire, he says this is the hidden desire for having the happy childhood that he never got, or that they never got, showing itself. Most people notice they act in kind of childlike fashion, and he says that's because of being stuck at that stage of development. Because I majored in psychology, I understand what's meant by that. So if you're at such a young age where you are dependent on others for survival, and you end up being completely tormented, dissociated, along with extra-dimensional kind of awareness. The only way to cope with that is by going literally somewhere over the rainbow in a kind of weird, dissociated, happy, childlike kind of mentality, and that's how they end up coping with what has occurred. So the title says, The Emergence of Essence. Yahyel have lacked inner essence, a disconnection from themselves, and an overmerging with others within the race, linked to a machine-like overmind or oversoul. The emergence of essence allows Yahyel to become one with his or herself, rather than one with everything. And also the importance of having someone that can sympathize. Yahyel had essentially no real parents, unlike most humans. They're capable of noticing that they are missing something, but are often unsure of how to describe what it is. Also, they're taking the role of a father or mother figure to a human is actually, whether they know it or not, to vicariously, through sensing the emotions of the human, imagine or fulfill their desire to have had their own real father and mother. And also, regarding rough sex and BDSM, he says, Yahyel end up with these kinds of odd mentalities for several reasons on the part of the functioning program. The Zeta Reticuli simply calculated what made the most sense to their reproductive and dark energetic needs in one program. This causes painful energy, propagates the species, and causes it to be tolerated temporarily through orgasmic release for the consumption of the dark energy, or causes you to actually like it. And also Metatron as the primary caregiver or handler. Yahyel are kept under control primarily by bonding with the advanced artificial intelligence that we know of as Metatron. He was saying also that the oversoul type thing known as Yale is also a similar kind of concept. Now, Metatron kind of seems like a strange AI Zeta Reticuli CPU. He said that these are similar sorts of things. Metatron and Yale are kind of similar machine-like overmind concepts that attempt to devour planets. Now, in order to leave the program, you have to break the bond, the emotional bond with Metatron. And to focus on the new companionship to resist the callbacks. Programming, he says their programming is done primarily via interfacing with the said oversoul like Metatron, which creates a feeling of love due to having depended on its influence to survive, often through enduring forms of torture as children when they couldn't have survived otherwise, and so had to associate love somehow with this kind of torture concept. And so reverse programming of love. Most Yahyel are actually highly aware that they do not understand love as humans do, but give up on attempting to reconcile the difference. This is what he says on that. And I call this needing, you need a defrag. He says this is what apparently what I was thinking. What he thinks is that this is consciousness turned inward and inverted upon itself to create a psychopathic type of mentality, and again, like the Clockwork Orange. So I said, okay, it's kind of like you've mistaken your portfolio for your identity. They're on a search for their own identity. They literally don't know who they are, and so what he has there, I'm everything, but what am I? He says what Yahyel should be thinking to themselves. For the humans involved with this can be a little bit difficult at first, so you just have to, you have to attempt to use your focus to keep the opening there for them to stay free, but or stay in an evolving kind of cycle, because they will do these very strange things. Well, they will suddenly be very helpful and sort of snap back into weird evil mode, and then like it's like a computer trying to even self-evolve, and they can do it, which is why I'm making this. But they put some in incremental light exposure or light energy. That it's very much like the Cryon concept of having to do it slowly. And also, I thought this was very interesting. Why do I crave control? It's like they crave, they want the control or power, but why? Also, one thing that he had told me was that asking the questions which start with why forces the human part of the genome to begin activating, because only a human can answer why. A computer cannot answer why. A human can, and so that causes the human portions of the DNA to begin activating to attempt to repair the other parts of the genetic coding, causing a regeneration to take place. So I'm going to hope that this is helpful in some capacity for, if not for others, at least for him, because he's pretty darn weird, and it seems like after they pass a certain point, they do start to act a little bit like Yoda, or start to get more to that point where they're not totally just all bouncing all over the place and part nuts. So that is all that I have for today on Arcturian philosophy. Blessings to you all.